Hello all, welcome to another lecture. Today we are going to discuss Newton's law of viscosity. Okay. Before that, I will give a quick overview of what are different types of flows. You already know we have two types of flows: laminar flow and turbulent flow. Okay. What happens in the laminar flow? You already know it. So suppose we have a fluid moving. So the fluid moves as if it is made up of layers. Okay, single layers called lamina means a layer only. So the fluid moves in a laminar fashion. Okay, though see, you cannot visualize this layer by naked eye, but if you see under microscope conditions, then you will be able to see that it will be in this kind of lamina. The molecules will not jump from this layer to this. Okay, so there is the molecules of this layer will not move to the next layer, so you can say there is no mixing. Okay, so if you put a dye on the moving liquid, then you will see that the dye will perfectly move like this without any mixing. Okay, suppose you put a blue dye and red dye in a moving fluid. So what will happen is the blue dye will move like this in a laminar fashion, and the red dye will move like this. So there will not be mixing of any of this, or not in between this, right? So this dyes will move as such in this laminar fashion. So this is basically a laminar flow. And what about turbulent flow? In turbulent flow, what happens? There is a very extensive mixing of there. So what happens if there is a turbulent flow? Then this, while flowing, this will randomly mix together. Also, the blue color will be mixing like this. So it will flow like this. So it's kind of chaotic. Okay. Okay. So we'll first go learn the Newton's law of viscosity, which is defined for this laminar flow. Okay. Okay. To understand the how Newton's law of viscosity came to conclusion, it's not a theory. It's kind of empirical equation. Okay. So how Newton came up with this idea, we can see here. Okay. So suppose we have no we have fluid inside a rectangular box. Okay, this view is side view. Okay, the height of the box is y. Okay, there is fluid in between. Let's say there is a water in between this. Okay, understood the problem first. So there is a fluid inside the box. Okay, let's say this the lower box is movable in x direction. Okay, let's set the coordinate system. This direction is x, this is y. Whatever you're seeing on this plane is nothing but the side view. Okay, so this is the side view. Okay, so at t less than 0, what is happening? This is stationary. Okay, fluid is just stationary. Fluid is there and there is no movement. So this line will be representing your velocity. So this is velocity 0 now. Okay, Now at t is equal to 0, we just start applying force over this plate from the bottom side. Okay, or you can say I will just try to move the plate on this side. So as you move the plate in the x direction, what is happening? It is trying to pull the liquid close to this plate along its direction, right? So it is trying to pull the liquid in this direction, and after certain time, large time, the fluid will almost move this distance, and the fluid at the other wall, which is stationary, so this wall is fixed. Okay, there is no movement of this wall. So what will happen? There will be no movement here, it will be 0. Okay, the fluid which is close to the moving plate or moving wall is V. Okay, maximum. So you can see there is a linear distribution. As you move away from the moving plate, the velocity decreases in a linear fashion. Okay, from this experiment, Newton's concluded that we'll be having somewhat relation like this. Okay, so what is force per unit area? Area is this wall area of the moving plate. Okay, this area. And what is force? You're applying force, right? In which direction? You're applying force in this direction. It's kind of shear stress, right? So what is the area direction? This. Normal to the area, this and this. So it is perpendicular, right? Area and force are perpendicular. So there is shear stress. Okay, so as I told you earlier, tau y x means y is the area normal, x is the force direction. So is something you can say like fx direction and area normal is y direction. This is just generalization. This is what Newton came up with this experiment. Okay, he found that this force per unit area is directly proportional to the v by y. V is what? The velocity difference. Okay, v minus 0. And what is y? This distance. Okay, y. So he came up with this. And to remove the proportionality constant, he introduced this mu. Mu is nothing but dynamic viscosity. Okay. Now he generalized furthermore in differential terms like this. So tau yx is equal to minus mu dvx by dy. Okay, so this is your Newton's law of viscosity. Okay, straightforward. So you should be careful while writing this tau yx. So whatever comes earlier, this is the direction of the area normal, and whatever this x, this is the direction of the force or the velocity direction. Okay, so you can see this is vx because the force in the direction x, and dy, the area in the direction of normal, right? This is area normal direction y. This is how you write Newton's law of viscosity. Fine. Now there are two types of fluids. Even classified based on two types. One is Newtonian fluids and non-Newtonian. What are Newtonian fluids? See, fluids means you have to include gas as well as liquid. Okay, fluid means that only. So Newtonian fluids are those fluids which obey this relationship given by the Newton's law, right? Minus mu dvx by dy. Okay, and those which do not obey this, they are called non-Newtonian fluids. Within non-Newtonian fluids, there are different types. You might have heard of Bingham plastic. Then you have dilatant, right? Then pseudoplastic, then thixotrophic, rheopactic. Okay, they are the class of fluids under the non-maintenance phase. Fine. So in this Newton's law of viscosity, I already explained you what are the different terms. Sorry, this is Vx. This is what? Velocity gradient, right? Mu is dynamic viscosity. Why there is negative sign? Because these shear stress can never be, it can never be negative. Okay, it is always a positive because this is momentum flux, right? So what is the purpose of this negative sign? This negative sign is to make this positive. How? So in the previous example, this was our coordinate x, y. This was the stationary wall, fixed wall, and this was the moving wall, right? So at y is equal to 0, what was the velocity? Since the bottom plate was moving, v, right? So this was v. Vx was v, right? And y is equal to the distance this at this wall, the capital Y. That was Vx is equal to 0 because of no slip condition, this fluid is at rest, right? So how do you define this gradient? So V final minus V initial, right? V2 minus V1 by Y2 minus Y1, right? This is how you define the slope or gradient. So what is V2 here? It is 0, right? At Y2, this is Y2, this is Y1, right? So definitely this is X1 velocity and here Vx2. So what is the V2 in this case? It is 0, right? And what is V1? In this way at y is equal to 1, velocity is V. And what is Y2? Y2 is nothing but Y. And what is Y1? That is 0. So what do you get? Minus V by Y, right? So this term is negative, right? And viscosity is always positive. So negative, negative, positive. Then only you will get this momentum flux positive. That's why we intentionally put minus here to make it positive. Okay. A similar trend you can observe in Fourier's law as well. Q is equal to minus k dt by dx, right? Okay, here also the gradient will be negative because the temperature flows from higher temperature T high to T low. But dt by dx, while calculating dt by dx, you do final minus initial. So T low will be final and T high will be high. So this will give you negative value, and to make it positive, you have put a negative sign here so that heat flux will be positive. Heat flux is always positive. Similarly, in case of Fick's law, there is negative, right? Because the concentration flows from high to low. So final is low concentration and initial is high concentration. So the difference will give you negative and negative, negative, positive. Because mass flux is also, mass flux or molar flux is also always positive, right? Okay. So there are different ways of saying expressing this term. So this is nothing but, you can say, velocity gradient, right? Or also you can say this one, flux of x momentum in the positive y direction, right? So tau y x is equal to minus mu dvx by dy, right? So this is vx, velocity in the x direction. That means this is nothing but momentum. So momentum in x, moment, flux of x momentum in y direction, okay? Because it is flowing, see, the momentum is in direction, sorry, the fluid is flowing in this direction, but the momentum is getting transferred in this direction, okay, in perpendicular. But someone might ask you, tau yx is equal to minus mu dvx by dy. Only in momentum transfer, the direction of momentum is in perpendicular to the flow direction. Okay. Here momentum flux is in direction. Okay. This is perpendicular to the flow direction. But in heat transfer, where we have q is equal to minus k dt by dx, so this in both the cases it is in the same direction. So heat will flow from high to low, right? And the flux will also in this direction. Only in this case it is a little bit different. Also in the mass transfer it is the same. They both are in the same direction. Okay. Now I already told you what is this. Nu is nothing but kinematic viscosity. It is defined as dynamic viscosity divided by the density. Okay. You can easily calculate the units of the dynamic viscosity from this Newton's law. It is nothing but Pascal second. Okay. There are other units as well. Like in SI unit, it is Pascal second. In CGS system, it is gram per centimeter second. Or also it is called poise. Okay. Or in British FPS system, it is pound per feet second. Right. Sometimes in problems it is mentioned as the viscosity is mentioned as mu is equal to zero point 0.1 cp. So don't write it as a point poise or 0.1 poise. What do you mean by centi? Centi is always 10 minus 2, right? What is milli? It is minus 10 minus 3. So you just have to multiply with 10 minus 2 or divide by 100. So 0.1 by 100. Then only you'll get poise. So it will be nothing but 0.001 poise, right? Or you can write gram per centimeter second. This Pascal second is also nothing but kg per meter second. So you can use whatever unit is preferred in the problem. So shear stress, it is Pascal because it is a similar as pressure force per unit area. Okay. Also in CGS dyne per centimeter square. In British unit is pound force per feet square and so on. Okay. Now in this table you can see the viscosity of water and air at 1 atmospheric temperature by varying the temperature. So temperature is increasing in this direction. What is happening to the viscosity of liquid? It is in the unit millipascal. So whatever you are getting, you have to multiply with 10 to the power minus 3 pascal second. Okay, so what is happening? The trend is it is with increasing temperature at constant pressure. What is happening to the liquid water? This is decreasing, right? It is decreasing. And for the air, what is happening? See, temperature is increasing, the viscosity is also increasing, right? So from this table you can see that for liquids, if the temperature increases, what happens to the viscosity? Viscosity decreases. For gases, what is happening? If you increase the temperature, the viscosity will also increase, right? So remember this. With increasing temperature, the viscosity of liquids decrease, and with increasing temperature, the viscosity of gases also increase. Fine. There are some viscosity of gases and liquid at atmospheric pressure. This is butane, normal butane. This is sulfur hexafluoride, and so on. You can check the values. Okay, let's solve a problem. So compute the steady state momentum flux tau yx in pound force per feet square when the load plate velocity v in figure, the earlier problem, is 1 feet per second in the positive x direction. The plate separation y is 0.001 feet and the fluid viscosity is 0.7 centipoise. Okay, so what is the formula? Tau yx equal to minus mu. So in this case we will use, since the difference is finite, we will delta vx by delta y. Okay. So earlier, what was the coordinate system? This was your x, this was your y. Now what is the lower plate velocity? It is given as 1 feet per second, right? And what will be the velocity here? It will be 0 feet per second because this is fixed wall. And what is the distance between these two? That is your this one, 0.001 feet. Right? So what will first calculate delta v by delta x? So I will calculate delta v x by delta y. So why this is minus 1? Because I told you v final is what? At y2 is equal to vx is 0. So it is basically 0 minus 1. 1 is initial, right? And what is this? This is 1 minus 0. Because final distance is this one, that is 0.001 feet. And initially it was at y is equal to 0. So 0. So you get this. 0 minus this will be minus. Okay. Now if you put it here, so you will get 1000 per second. This is 1000 per second. And what is the viscosity? 0.7 centipoise. I already told you earlier that 0.7 centipoise means 0.7 into 10 to the power minus 2. Centipoise means gram per centimeter second, right? Okay. So you can say you need tau yx, this momentum flux. In what you need, it is asked to express in this pound force per feet square. Now you have already per second. Sorry, from this you will get per second. And what is the viscosity? Here it has calculated this 1.46 feet square. So basically it has converted this into gram per centimeter into pound per feet square. So you can easily use the conversion. It is given in the appendix. So let me check the unit again. So the viscosity unit is this one. Okay, feet square, pound mass. So this will be lbm. Lbm means mass pound. Okay, so feet dot, you can easily convert into this, but to convert into lb force, you need pound force. You have to, I think, divide or multiply by 9.8. So do it accordingly. There is a conversion in the appendix F. Okay. Okay, so you can convert this pound mass lbm into pound force lbf. So use the appropriate conversion. Okay, now we just learned the Newton's law of viscosity for the in single direction. Okay, now you want to generalize this Newton law of viscosity in 3D. Okay, so there are some certain assumptions that let's say this is the moving fluid. You are drawing some controlled volume V. At the center, this is x, y, z coordinates, right? So the velocity will be a function of x, y, z, and time. Similarly, the y velocity will be a function of z, x, y, z, and time, right? Now, at this point, there will be two possible, uh, you know, momentum flux. momentum or your shear stress or stress. One is normal pressure force. The pressure force always acts in perpendicular direction in all directions, right? So that's why it is 90 degree to this area, and this shear stress in x direction will be at an angle, right? Shear stress is never perpendicular or in the same direction, so it will be at certain angle. Okay. Similarly, at in if you want to calculate in y direction, the shear stress will be at certain angle, and the normal pressure force in y direction will be directly parallel to the direction normal. Okay. Similarly, in that case, the pressure in the z direction will be directly at 90 degree to the surface, or you can say parallel to the area normal. Hmm. And this shear stress will be at an angle, right? So now in this chapter we are talking about molecular transfer. Okay. So now I will sum up these two terms and give it a new term called molecular stress. So molecular stress means pi is equal to normal stress, this is pressure force, plus shear stress, right? Tau. And to accommodate all the shear stresses and pressure force in all directions, we have two indices. Remember, we define a tensor with two indices, right? So this will be p. See, pressure is a scalar, so we have to use this conical delta ij. Okay, and tau we have ij. Okay. So what is the meaning of this pi ij? Pi ij is nothing but total molecular stress. It is a sum of normal stress plus shear stress. Okay, what this means ij. So this is like this: force in the z direction on an unit area perpendicular to the I direction. I told you earlier, right? Tau yx means force in is x direction and the area is in y direction. So similarly, just replace with ij. The force is in j direction and the area is in I direction. Okay. So you can say force in the j direction on an unit area perpendicular to the I direction, right? Area is perpendicular to the I direction, or you can say the direction normal of the area is in I. It's same, and it is understood that uh, you know what is the direction of the momentum. So lesser xi is exerting the force on the fluid of greater xi. So here I in this case I means dy. Earlier we told you it is tau yx, right? So what was happening in the tau yx scenario? We have this was this scenario, right? So what is happening? The momentum is getting transferred from lower y equal to 0 to some y is equal to some value, capital Y, right? In this direction. So lesser y to higher y, or in this case you can say lesser I to higher I. So the lesser I xi exerting the force on the fluid of greater xi. Right? So it can be also expressed as flux of j momentum in the positive I direction. Where there are a lot of ways to. Now you can calculate molecular stress in xx direction. So p plus tau xx. Why this is simply p plus p? Where is this term gone? I already told you in previous lectures that this is Kronecker delta. Whenever I becomes equal to j, this is nothing but 1, right? When I is not equal to j, then it is 0. Right? So that's why Kronecker delta has become 1, because it is xx, x equal to x. So similarly, this will be p plus tau yy, c tau z is a normal stresses. whereas the remaining quantities, these are called shear stresses. Because for other, let's say you want to find this tau, sorry, molecular stress xy. So it is generally P delta chronicle delta xy plus tau xy. Since this is chronicle delta and x is not equal to y, this is becomes 0. So only left with this. So in shear stresses terms, only this term will be there. And pi xy is equal to tau xy, right? Pi yz is equal to yz. Because this is total molecular stress and this is shear stress only, the normal stress cancels out here. Fine. We can also express in vector form. Since pi is a tensor, so it will be having three components, pi x, pi y, z. Right? So you can. So in this case, we have x component. Just take the x here. So p plus tau xx and so on. So we just discussed molecular transfer only, molecular part in momentum transfer. Secondly, we have to understand convection, right? That will be discussing the last one. So we have only two mode of transfers in momentum, molecular transfer and convection. Similarly, if you see mass transfer, there are molecular transfer, there is Fick's law, and the convective transfer, right? And in heat transfer, we have three mode of transfers. We have molecular, that is thermal conductivity term, Fick's law. Then we have convection and radiation. Now we have defined what is molecular stress, right? Now let's move into more generalization. Like we want to express all the terms, right? Tau ij in all the direction, possible direction. You know, in 3D, the tau or the molecular tensor pi will be having three components, right? Oh, sorry, nine components total. This is the one vector, this is one vector, right? If you express this in terms of vector, but we'll be having three components. Sorry, nine components. So it can be generalized in this general formula. Okay, so there are some assumptions how to arrive at that. So this is not very important from the exam point of view. So if you want to know what assumptions they have done and how they have arrived to the final formula, you can go through it. Okay, so finally we will get tau ij equal to this mu minus mu dvj dvi xi this dou by xj plus 2 by 3 mu minus kappa dou vx by dou x like that. Okay, and this is the chronicle delta. Okay, so you can see this is a new term here, kappa, that is called dilatational viscosity. Okay, that is scalar value. Okay, so this is a general equation for the stress tensor. You can simply try putting I equal to, suppose you want to find tau xy, what is happening. So simply put I is equal to x and j equal to y. Just substitute. So this will be dou v y by dou x. This will be dou vx by dou y and so on. You can easily calculate it. So this is called scalar notation, but I want to write in vector notation, this tau. Wherever you see tau and sigma in bold, that means it is a tensor. Okay, so this tau is a tensor. So on paper you can write like this, tau double dash. So I will know that this is a tensor. If you want to write a vector, just give this. If you want to write s, this is scalar, so don't do anything. So if you want to write vector, just put an arrow over it. If you want to write a tensor, then just put double arrow over it. Okay, without heads. Okay, so this is a vector form. So mu minus mu, this is grad, right? This is the Nabla operator, del or Nabla operator. This is itself a vector. This V is a vector. So vector, vector, it is a tensor. And this is the gradient of a vector, and this means transpose. Okay, transpose. And 2 by 3 mu minus k, these are scalar value. And we have divergence of the vector. So vector dot vector, that will give a scalar. So this value will be scalar. Oh, sorry, this is scalar, then this is canonical delta. So this is scalar and this is the delta. This is unit tensor. How unit tensor means you have 1 1 1 0. This is your unit tensor. Okay, or it will be depending upon what are the components, the I, the J. Okay, you'll see it later. So this is called unit tensor. So this is your, vector notation. You can also write the component wise by using this notation. So this is your vector notation. Okay, so let's say this is a cylinder, fluid is moving here. So if somebody asks you what is the force by fluid in theta direction, so this is cylinder, right? So you cannot use rectangular coordinate system here. You can use, but it will be complicated. So better you go with the cylindrical system. So in cylindrical system we have radius. Let's say this is the axis. So radius r, right, and the angle theta, right, and the z direction. Okay. Now, what is this area? I want to. It is asking force. So now uh, tau is force by area, right? So what is the force? If you want to calculate force, you simply multiply tau into area, right? Okay. Now here, what will it is asking force by fluid in theta direction. What is the force in this direction, theta direction? Okay, on this surface. So how will you calculate? So first, what will be the indexes tau? Simply, what is the area direction in r, right? So it will be r. What is the force direction in this? That is theta direction. So it is r theta. And where it is calculated at radius capital R, right? And what is the area? Now you have to find the area, right? What is the area here? So let me erase this. Okay, what is the area here? How will you calculate this small strip of element? So this will be your radius R, right? From the axis. So it's basically to find this area, what do you need? Length into breadth, right? This kind of parallelogram or rectangle, right? What is this length? What is this length? From arc formula, if this is your radius, this is your r, so what is arc length? R theta, right? So in this case we have taken small element, so this is nothing but d theta. So and this is your radius from this axis, so what will be the arc length? So r d theta. And what is this length? This is in the z direction, so it is nothing but dz, right? Small element. So what is the area of this? Length into breadth, right? So r d theta into dz. So you have got it. So you have got the force. And why there is a negative sign here? Can anyone say? So you find out why there is a negative sign here. It is leave. left as a homework. Similarly, here you have minus sign here. So to calculate the force here, you have to again do a small element, find out the area and just multiply this your stress, you'll get the force. Similarly here you'll get this one, force in the z direction. So force is in this direction. Okay, that means fluid is moving in this direction. Okay, so how will you find it? Why this is negative sign here? You can just do it. Now we'll understand what is the viscosity, how viscosity varies with the temperature and pressure. Yeah, I already told you the viscosity of liquids, as temperature is increased, the viscosity will decrease for liquids. For gases, as the temperature is increased, the viscosity will also increase. Right? What about pressure? So we have a graph here, you can easily see from this graph. So we have plotted reduced viscosity divided by the reduced temperature. Okay, the Pc is critical temperature, and you can calculate critical viscosity at critical temperature as well. So this is, both are dimensionless. It's easier to plot on the graph. Okay, so first see this line. So this graph basically tells you with the variance of temperature. Also it includes pressure also. So how to see, we'll see soon. So this line is for low density limit. So liquid have higher density than gases, right? So gases can be thought of like low density fluid. Okay, so whenever you say low density, that means a gas. So this line refers to gas. So only now see this line. So with temperature increasing, the viscosity increases. I told you, right? With temperature increase, viscosity increases. Okay. What about for liquids? So these lines are for liquids. Okay. As you see the trend, at any particular pressure, the viscosity of liquid decreases, right, with increase in temperature. So for liquids, with increase in temperature, viscosity decreases. Okay. Now what about pressure? Now what about pressure? First we'll start with gases. What happens if I increase the pressure? What will happen to the viscosity of gases? From this graph, you can see it is a single line for gases, and it can be seen that there is no effect of pressure on the viscosity. So with pressure increase or decrease, the viscosity of gases doesn't change or doesn't happen anything. So there is no effect of pressure on the gases, right? However, however, for liquids, for liquids, the scenario is different. So what is, if you see this graph is for reduced pressure of 25, means this is your pressure, right? Pressure divided by critical pressure. So you can see that as you increase the pressure, what is happening? The viscosity is increasing. If you fix a temperature here and just plot it for this pressure, for this pressure, so this pressure is at reduced pressure 5, this is at 10, and this is at 25. So you can see the viscosity is increasing, right? So if you increase the pressure, the viscosity of liquids will also increase. If you decrease the pressure, the viscosity will also decrease. It's a kind of directly proportional. Okay. However, for gases, there is no effect of pressure on the viscosity. Fine. Now there are some problems you can calculate how estimate the viscosity at 50 degrees Celsius. Okay, molecular weight this. You can use, you can directly plot from the graph. Okay, by seeing at the graph, you can easily spot the viscosity. So the molecular theory of viscosity of gases at low density. So you can derive the viscosity formula for gases, right, by direct uh, studying the collision theory or kinetic theory of gases. Okay. You can easily derive. This is not a part of syllabus. However, if you want to learn, you can read it here. So finally, you can derive, and you'll get the viscosity formula. You'll get viscosity as this. The viscosity of gas will be equal to 2 by 3 pi root over pi m mass kappa. Sorry, this is I think K, Boltzmann constant. This is temperature. This is pi. This is collision cross section. This is pi d square is collision cross section. Yes. So you can use this formula. You can see what is collision cross section, pi d square. So d is nothing but the distance, right? So it is, d is the diameter of the atom. Also, you can calculate the viscosity using Lennard-Jones 612 potential. So what is Lennard-Jones 6-point potential 612? So Lennard-Jones, the potential is the function of distance is something like A by R12 minus B by R6. See, you have seen 12 6 parameter. So this term is repulsion. Repulsion, what is the potential at repulsion? If it is there repelling, this term is the attraction term. So attraction is always negative potential. Okay, so in Lennard-Jones potential, the curve is drawn something like this. Suppose two atoms are there, right? They are approaching each other. Let's say this is the distance r, so it is plotted on the x-axis. And what is the potential change between these molecules? Okay, the curve generally follows like this. Okay, let's say these two atoms are very very far at r is equal to infinity, right? So at very far, the infinite distance. So what is the potential between them? Zero, definitely, right? So this is kind of asymptote. So it is zero at infinite distance. If two atoms are at infinite distance, their potential between them is zero. Okay, let's say they try coming closer. Okay, so as they come close, the potential will start to increase in the negative direction. Okay, because the molecule will start to attract. Okay, like van der Waals force of attraction, they will start to attract each other as they move closer. That's why this is some negative deep here. So this is the maximum attraction energy. Okay, but after this distance, if they try to move further closer, let's say they try to come closer, what will happen is they will experience some kind of repulsion, because the electron cloud will of this atom and this electron cloud this, and they will repel each other, negative negative charge, but they will try to repel each other. So what happens instantaneously, if they come after certain very close, then the repulsive energy potential goes high, right? Okay, what about this point? This is called equilibrium distance. So at equilibrium distance means the minimum distance at which there is no attraction or no repulsion. That is called your equilibrium distance between the atoms. At this distance, there will be no attraction and no repulsion between these two atoms. Okay, that is your Lennard-Jones potential. So it is expressed in this formula. So this epsilon is your well, as I told you, this gap well height, and this is your sigma. Fine. So the viscosity can be expressed in terms of Lennard-Jones model. Here it is sigma. Yeah. Okay, and K cover this. This is your well height E epsilon. This is sigma. There are also certain correlations. You can go through this example. Right? How to estimate the viscosity using Lennard-Jones potential. Now again, you can derive the molecular viscosity of liquids, assuming same kind of some analogy of kinetic theory of gases. You can derive it. See, ultimately you'll get viscosity in terms of these parameters. Here you can calculate it. This is not important from the exam point of view, so you can skip it. If you want to learn, you can read it. Now we just derive the equation for viscosity of pure liquids or pure gases. Okay. What about if you want to find the viscosity of suspension? Suppose a liquid mixture or emulsion, you have a liquid, some particles suspended here. What will the viscosity? There are some correlations for that, like this. Viscosity, effective viscosity will be the viscosity plus the phi. What is phi? Phi is the volume fraction of the solids or spheres. Okay, so you can easily calculate. This is called Einstein equation. Similarly, you have Mooney equation for concentrated suspension of spheres. This is your volume fraction. Again, you have Graham equation. There are a lot of formulas here. And the values for the parameters are given in this table. For emulsions as well. Yeah, there are a lot of formulas. This is the famous equation, Smolotowski equation. Okay. Okay. Lastly, in this chapter, last topic is convective momentum transport. So, what is convective momentum transport? See, in molecular transfer, because of the velocity gradient, there is a momentum transfer, right? In molecular transfer, the molecular transfer happens spontaneously, right? Okay. However, convective transport, it can be forced and natural, right? So if fluid is moving along with the fluid, there will be a momentum transport because the fluid is carrying momentum in the direction of flow. Okay. So again, you can visualize it. You take a small control volume at point X, Y, Z, and you can assume that this is. So the thing is, what is the convective transport formula, right? So it is written as rho v v. That means if the velocity of the fluid is v, which is a function of x, y, and z, then the total convective transport is this rho vv. Okay, see, this is vector vector and this is direct product. So vector vector direct product will give you a tensor only. Okay, so this is your convective transport formula. Okay, similarly, you can see here this is a convective transport in x direction, this is in y direction, this is in z direction, and so on. You can see here direction to the, if you take this one, direction normal to the surface, normal to the surface area. So this is your surface area, then the normal will pass through it at 90 degree. So what is saying, flux of momentum through the shaded area. So if you take the, so direction, let's say this is the x direction, so flux of momentum through the area will be rho vxv. So because the fluid will carry in x direction your vx momentum, right, mvx. So this is your formula, momentum in x direction. Again you are having x component, rho vx vx, rho vx vy. If you are talking about the normal in y direction, then the momentum will be, flux, momentum flux will be rho vy, because the fluid is component is vy, then rho vy v. This will be your momentum, flux of momentum through this area, and so on. And it will be having the component, because the velocity have vx, vy, vz components. See, you can see this is tensor, because this has 9 components, 1 2 3, 9 components, right? So this is also tensor. Finally, so your total, total momentum flux is equal to your molecular, so I will write here. So total momentum flux is equal to molecular, or you can say total momentum stress, molecular plus convective, right? What is your molecular stress? I will tell you pi, right? Pi ij. What is your convective? Just rho v v, right? If you are doing scalar notation, it will be vi vi. Okay, what is this thing? Pi. Pi is nothing but your p conical delta ij plus tau ij, right? This is your total molecular transfer, molecular stress, and plus rho vij, it will be your convective stress, and this total momentum stress is by phi. So you need to remember this formula, right? So total momentum stress including molecular and convective stress is equal to phi, and only molecular stress is represented pi, and this is your rho is the density of the fluid, rho vi vj. So this is your total momentum stress. Okay, you can similarly write phi total momentum stress in x, I equal to x, j equal to x. So you just put in the indices, you will get your formula. Since this is in x direction, so there will be pressure, while xy there will be no pressure, only shear stress and convective, because conical delta will be 1 or 0, sorry. Okay, so this is nothing but the combined flux of, see, this second indices is the direction of the flow or the force direction. So combined flux of y momentum across the surface perpendicular to x. So you can, this is your vector notation, vector and tensor. This is a tensor rho vv, convective momentum plus tensor. This is your shear viscous momentum flux tensor because of viscosity. This is your molecular momentum flux tensor, and this is your total combined molecular plus convective. You see, tau is basically arising from the viscosity. That's why it's called viscous momentum flux tensor. But pressure, how pressure is arising? Pressure is arising because of the random motion of the atoms, right? So atoms are at constant motion, so they will collide with each other and with the wall. And with the wall, it creates a pressure, right? So that's how the pressure comes into play. Okay. Okay, thank you.